Are you guys ready to play some bootleg Pokemon cards again? Though, let me tell ya, I really don't think you're gonna catch them all for this particular set. So this is a bootleg Pokemon card series that I can't currently find anything on its existence online, so that's kinda rare, and I guess these are too. Though I guess series isn't the right way to refer to these cards. These are Pokemon New Serial. These cards were given to me by German Bellic to cover on Bootleg Zone, so thank you very much, German. He told me that he originally got these cards from a European section of Russia. But the backs of these cards have Turkish text on them, so I guess originally these cards came out of Turkey. So the translation I got like to keep changing words depending on how close or far the phone was, but basically it says collect the cards from 1 to 15, win original Pokemon Ball. Collect the cards from 1 to 60, get original Pokemon Clock. Maybe originally with these card packs there were some sort of instructions to tell you how you're supposed to send in these bootleg Pokemon cards, or proof that you collected that many bootleg Pokemon cards to collect the bootleg Pokemon Ball or Clock. Another thing that would originally come with these cards in the pack, I guess, was some kind of gum or candy. I'm glad I don't have that. You'll also notice as we go through a bunch of these cards that some of them have this like ridged damage going on. I was told this is exactly how the cards would come straight out of the pack sometimes. This was probably due to some kind of misalignment when the cards were being printed, and surprise, surprise, the bootleggers didn't really care about the quality that you were gonna get. And poor Sandshrew, I guess, got the worst of it. New cereal, we don't care if it looks like crap. And some of these Pokemon New Serial cards don't have the Turkish text, which talks about sending in cards or collecting so many to get a Pokemon Ball or Clock. This could be due to many reasons in these cards' case. Maybe they just stopped this promotion, maybe people were annoyed because the promotion was never actually real, or they were just inconsistent and lazy. And I suppose one of the biggest giveaways that these aren't legit Pokemon cards, besides the fact they don't look anything like legit Pokemon cards, is that they are much smaller than the real deal. These Turkish/Russian bootlegs are also much plainer looking than any official Pokemon cards, since all the Pokemon just appear on a white background. And here's a comparison of the card backs. Can you tell the difference? I know, it's pretty subtle. So, quite the opposite to the official cards, the energy cards are apparently the rarest thing in Pokemon New Serial. These 5 energy cards are actually the only energy cards I have in the entire lot, which means I don't even have one of each type, so that's cool. And the energy cards, instead of just showing you a giant icon of which energy type it is, all have screen caps from Pokemon the first movie, aka Mewtwo Strikes Back. Some of these at least sort of make sense, like Brock and Misty being on the Staryu on the water energy, and the Pidgeot being on the colorless energy. Bulbasaur is at least in the shot of the grass energy along with Ash and Pikachu, and then we have Pikachu on the electric one as he's about to be carried off by Mewtwo. But then we just have hologram of Nurse Joy on fire energy. I don't know what the hell that has to do with fire energy. So with some of the cards you can tell they copied like the stats and stuff from the official Pokemon card, like with Mewtwo here, but they don't copy any of the explanation text for anything. So Psychic just says plus 10. Plus 10 what? I don't know, just it does plus 10. And then Barrier, it costs 2 Psychic Energy to do... I don't know. Some of the Pokemon don't get move names on their cards either, so Dratini just does plus 10 nothing, and Dragonair does plus 20 nothing. And then there's some cards that look like they shouldn't even be from the same set at all, as they have no stats, no typing, and no moves. And if you're wondering if that's the difference between the ones that have the Turkish text on the card back or not, nope, that's completely random. So some of these cards have the right moves and stuff, like Pikachu and Raichu. Of course, some of these moves are supposed to have more effects, which this series never bothers with. And unlike some of the bootleg Pokemon card sets, which made like almost everything a foil card, Pokemon New Serial has no foils whatsoever. We have the 3 original Eeveelutions with Eevee here, but you might notice that Flareon is now an electric type. Whoops. It seems the Pokemon New Cereal people just didn't like Fire type that much because, as you might have noticed, they also turned Moltres into an electric type. And from what I can tell, when the Pokemon has no typing or stats, that seems to be consistent through its evolution line at least. Still though, I really don't know what you're meant to do with these cards in this very broken version of the Pokemon card game. And Parasec's Mushroom turned to rock and evolved into Graveler and Golem. Or maybe I'm just missing Paras and Geodude. I also don't have Poliwag or Horsey, so here's Seadra with Poliwhirl and Poliwrath. And wow, I really don't know what happened to the Sea King card. It's just yellowed to shit, and it makes it look like it's a card that came out of the 60s or 70s. And here's the 2 Starfish Pokemon. Starmie can recover, which does nothing, or it can do Star Freeze. Here's Clefairy with Jigglypuff and Wigglytuff. Clefairy has move names and these 2 don't get any, and Metronome does nothing. But I guess you could make it up because it is Metronome. Here's the Squirtle evolution line, and for the most part these make sense, well, as much sense as this game ever makes, though Blastoise introduces a Pokemon power, which is Rain Dance. Rain Dance, of course, is a real thing in the games, but in the context of this game, who knows what that means? The final evolution of each of the starters seems to have one of these Pokemon powers, Venusaur's being Energy Trans, and Venusaur seems like it's a lot crappier than Ivysaur. You do 4 Leaf Energy for 20 damage of Solar Beam, when Ivysaur can do 20 damage with Poison Powder or Vine Whip for 30 damage. And it's less energy. And here's another downgrade evolution, with Rattata being able to do 20 damage with any color energy, and then Raticate only being able to do 10 damage with colorless energy. And you might notice that Raticate, for some reason, does Poison Powder. Poison Powder just seemed to be a placeholder for some of the Pokemon moves, as both Spearow and Fearow have Poison Powder, but Fearow's does 10 more damage. I guess we should be happy when they even bother putting Poison Powder, because sometimes, of course, we just get nothing. And in Venonat's case, this probably should be Poison Powder. Here's some more of the Pokefuts, which do absolutely nothing. Ekans and Arbok both do a 40 damage Poison Powder, but Arbok is actually worse because it's only got 60 HP compared to Ekans' 80 HP. And let's circle back to the last starter evolution line with Charmander, Charmeleon, and Charizard. And of course, Charizard does have the Pokemon power like the proper card, but with no explanation, it doesn't mean anything. Here's Magnemite and Magneton. Magneton blowing up does twice the damage Magnemite does. You think it should be 3 times the damage though, because there's 3 of them, right? And here's some other Pokemon cards that I don't have any other ones in the evolution line for. Coughing and Wheezing both do Poison Sting, so all you get is a bit more HP if you bother with that evolution. Here's some Pokemon with nothing in their evolution line. Well, at least back in Gen 1 they didn't have anything else in their evolution line. And Chansey can Scrunch. I guess you can play Fetch with Kangaskhan for whatever good that does you. Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee have the exact same moves, when Hitmonlee should have a kick instead of a special punch like Hitmonchan, though Hitmonchan's special punch does 10 more damage than Hitmonlee's, which I guess makes sense since Hitmonlee is not the puncher. And you can see there is this slight color difference between an actual colorless Pokemon and then just these blank ones. The blank ones are more yellow than the colorless type. And here's Electabuzz with awkward, not purpled up yet Jinx. So this card game still managed to make Gyarados better than Magikarp, though Dragon Rage is a better move that costs 1 less water energy than Bubble Beam. Here's the Ponyta and Growlithe evolution lines. Growlithe is one of the few cards I have a double of. There's no actual difference on the stats or anything, but you can see a bit of a difference on the printing quality and colors. Here's the Machop evolution line, and they gave Machamp the useless Pokemon power, which is still Strikes Back, and Machoke still has the dash by Karate Chop because it's supposed to get weaker the more damaged Machoke is, but Again, there's no instructions. Krabby and Kingler both do absolutely nothing. Rhyhorn and Rhydon, obviously missing the final evolution, missing no. In the Ghastly evolution line, they keep the exact same moves, it's just the moves actually start to do something as you evolve the Pokemon up to Gengar. The Bellsprout evolution line is of course filled with some poison powders. I guess it's not worth going up to Victory Bell though, since it just loses the better move, Razor Leaf. Here's the Steel and Voltorb lines. I guess Dewgong has a harder head than Seal, and Voltorb and Electrode both have nameless moves. Here's the Abra evolution line. Again, I guess going all the way up to Alakazam is not as good, even though it has a useless Pokemon power, since Kadabra has Super Psy, which is the strongest move. The Drowsy and Cubone line both suffer from the laziness of them giving them the exact same moves, just with the damages modified a little bit. But of course no one in this line has suffered more than poor beaten up Sandshrew. Here's Nidoran Female and Nidorina, no Nidoqueen. In the Oddish line, Oddish is the only one who didn't get a useless poison powder, and then Gloom and Vileplume have the same moves, except of course Vileplume can do a bit more damage with its foul odor. I'm missing Weedle, so let's substitute a real one. I don't think anyone will notice. And here's the Caterpie line. A lot of poison stinging going on in this one. No Stiffen for Metapod, but Metapod is apparently the best place to keep it at because it does 30 damage for 1 energy, and then you need 3 energy to do 30 or 20 damage with Butterfree. Butterfree's also missing the trainer power of be the first Pokemon for your trainer to abandon. And last and certainly least is the Nidoran male line, and it follows that trend of the middle Pokemon being the best one for attacking, though Nidoking is the only one that got moves where they actually have a name. The quality is quite inconsistent on these cards, and with no explanation or bonus effects, a lot of the moves just make no sense. And some cards are even missing the moves' names, or anything on there besides the Pokemon and its name. I believe these cards are Pokemon which are from the original 151, but weren't in the basic or jungle sets mostly. Those card sets were probably the only ones which were out at the time that they made these bootleg cards, and the bootleggers couldn't be bothered to figure anything out for themselves. They couldn't even be bothered to give them all poison powder, though then they'd have to figure out the Pokemon's type. And as we know, figuring out what type a Pokemon was a tall ask for these guys. And in Moltres' case, which is one of the ones that was first released in Fossil but actually has stats in this bootleg card game, they just gave it Thunder straight from Zapdos, though they gave it 10 less HP. And obviously, putting cards which were chewed up by the printing machine in the packs is less than impressive. 3. It's like the Pokemon TCG, just less playable and the cards are smaller. 3. I love that Turkish bootleg Pokemon cards were sold in Russia and the whole movie screen caps being on the rare energy cards thing. No one making these cards really gave any thought whatsoever to how the game was supposed to work, clearly. 8. I don't have the card packaging and I can't even find out what it looks like, so nope. These are much plainer and smaller than the OG cards, but I do like the old Pokemon artwork they've stolen, and it is kind of interesting that these ones all have a consistent art style compared to it being buried up like in the real card set. 4. And the bootleg zones overall is 8! Even though the game has been rendered basically unplayable, I love that these cards exist and find them quite interesting. Vulpix obviously evolves into Meowth. I'm pretty sure that's how that goes, right? That's wrong, you idiot!